Hi, just having a quick look at is there any scalping to have in today's trades. We really saw a very strongly bought bottom in the ES on Friday. It didn't really start to sell as you would expect till into the close, and it's opened up down. So if we go and have a look at some closer time scales, nothing there in the 5 minutes, but we're really looking for something that shows us this price action. And here in the 5 minutes, it's showing that we've got a solid buy going on. We'd probably have to get down to the 2 minutes to even see this ridge dropping through. We can see that it's started to buy there. I like it when it starts to hit the bottom. And we can see it's hit the bottom. It still thinks there's a trade on here. If I switch through and I was looking at the NQs, the NQs tells me strongly, and that's where I think the trades are today. It told me that I could buy. I would have been getting out here as we started to head to the top. So you probably could pick up 50 pips in that, which is probably a good trade in 15 minutes. You know, whether you got the whole of the bottom or the whole of the top, there was a good trade to be had there. I think this is showed you some strength here, but I don't here in oil. I don't think that it was as easy to pick. This open here just went off hard, obviously, and then has come back hard. I think that it looked a bit sideways oil on Friday. I can't really recall. Gold did look like it was going. It's had some it had a very strong lead into the weekend in GLD, SGOL, Aberdeen. It's getting pushed down here. I don't know what's been happening in the tweeting. Obviously, the gamma's quite light at the moment. Mainly people have stepped out of gold. Here's the gold SPD. You can see the gamma's down at a record low level here. We're down at the sort of the lowest levels that we ever see in positions being held. So we don't need much of a tweet to get that to turn around the other way. Which is the same as the main stocks here, as the bigger stocks here. Look, I think that this was buying quite hard into the close. There was some good buying in copper on Friday, even though it got pushed. It bought quite well, and then it got pushed down. We had a lot of selling into the afternoon. Overall, it was quite a tight position. And then we've seen today there's been some quite good trading. Today we sort of hit, if you went down into the 2 or the 3 minute zone, this one stood out here. We'd hit this bottom here, and it really traded up quite well, and it was about 50 pips of buy there. You might say, oh well, look, it doesn't show you the liquidity very well. You can just see here we're carrying through very heavy hedging the whole way from the sell in the afternoon. Even though we've got liquidity on the surface, there's only one surface or maybe two surface out of 5 lines of liquidity carrying through. We're here, we've got nearly all of the lines down. We're missing 2 of our indicators. That's showing us how much buying there was. Silver is just really bouncing around. There's nothing really to see there. I don't know what its positioning was on the weekend. I didn't check it. I always look for a little bit of confirmation before I enter a trade, just to see where they're trading. One of the interesting things to see here is to note whether we're seeing the trading coming through in the ES or we're seeing the trading coming through in the CFDs, because it's earlier in the market. It's traded a lot by Australians, traded a lot by Europeans, and might be getting laid off by market makers in those markets rather than the ES. But I think that today we can see that we've got much clearer trading in the ES. It doesn't look very clear in the ES on Friday. It looks like it's bumping around. It definitely did. I thought that this was bought heavily into the close. That's where I think that we'll be getting back up to a reasonable price today in the SPX by the open. Mind you, with such low gamma, that can change pretty quickly if the tweets are bad. Anyway, I hope you can find some things to scalp with your favourite tickers today. Watching them, be really careful. Make sure that you're flipping in and out when you're looking at futures. You're flipping in and out of the different places that might be green. You know, someone might be long one, short the other, and so you tend to find this selling pressure and buying pressure that isn't really explained by the price action. today I've got a heavy emphasis here on what's happening in the NQs, and I think that's what will feed. When we see this come back down and we see some solid buying during the day in the Qs, I think that we'll get some good price reaction. We're seeing that it's being set here, so you can be pretty certain that you can take advantage of the indicators then. Have a good good night's sleep, and we'll see you in the morning for some trading on the 30th of March. Cheers.